This is Main Street with Gary Allen. Now, here's Gary.
Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. We've got a great show for you. We've been off the air for quite a while. I just wanted to let you all know that we'll be back for another season. Some great shows, some great guests like we have today that's going on. I've been taking care of some personal business the last 3 or 4 months, and that's why we were off the air. We're also not only on DBTV on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m., but we're also now on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. on Fox Valley TV out of Chicago, Illinois, and we hope you will tune into that with some of these great shows that we've got coming up for you. We've got an exciting show this afternoon with a gentleman who, well, when you're in this business as long as I have and as long as he has been in the business, uh, we get to meet some really wonderful people along the way. And along the way, I met this gentleman about 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, I guess, in some form or fashion or another. And we became great friends right away. You know him as an actor on television and movies and in theater. You know him from The Sopranos, where he played Little Carmine. You know him from L.A. Law. You also know him from Chicago PD. You also know him from Law and Order, Dynasty, as well as Hot in Cleveland with the cast of Hundreds, Night Court, which was got to be an exciting show to have done, as well as, like I said, theater and many television productions. He's also a graduate of St. John's University. Would you please welcome a dear friend of mine, a man who I consider a family member and someone who I love like a brother. I'm jealous of the fact that he's very handsome. Would you please welcome Mr. Ray Abruzzo?
Wow. Thank you. I actually thought that intro was for somebody else when you did the whole handsome thing, but I thought, oh, is there
Well, I
somebody
couldn't
else?
see myself, so I have no idea what I was saying. To tell you
Well,
the
I kept
truth.
thinking that maybe somebody else was coming in the room. No, I'm kidding.
When did you go to St. John's?
1972. I was a freshman in 1970. Oh, we're doing age right off the bat. People are already count. Holy
No.
Mac. Let's see. He was in college in 72. Yeah.
I was in the Air Force in 72. I mean, I
All
was
right. That's an interesting time to be in the Air Force, I think.
not really. I mean,
No, I
you
know.
don't want to know where I was in a place called South Vietnam.
I've heard of it. Yeah. I thought that was,
Yeah.
yeah, around that period of time, we all were kind of thinking about South Vietnam around 1972.
Yeah.
I was my year was the first year in 1972. Interestingly enough, it was the first year that 18-year-olds were allowed to vote because
Yeah.
they passed an amendment, a constitutional amendment, I think in 3 months, which has got to be a record. You imagine trying to pass an amendment in 3 months now? It would take years. But up until then, people that don't know, a lot of people don't know. The kids don't know that up before that, you had to be 21 to vote, yet you got drafted at
Yeah.
18. So that was
Yeah.
certainly the motivation for changing that law to voting at 18 when you can die in
Well,
Vietnam at 19 and not be able to vote until 21.
I came off of my first tour in Vietnam and I couldn't even buy a beer.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Couldn't even buy a
Crazy.
beer. And then my second tour, everything had changed. Of course, I was older,
Right.
but not that much older. I was 20, but yeah, my dad couldn't even take me into the local bar at
Wow.
Ricky's, and they sat down and they said, "Look, Chet, we know how old Gary is, okay? And we understand where he just came from, but I can't serve him." And so we went to 7-Eleven, got a six-pack of beer, and we went home. You know,
Yeah.
we got a six-pack of beer and we went home. And
Yeah.
and I said to my dad, "When are you flying again?" He said, "Tomorrow." I said, "Is there plenty of time?" He said, "I'm not flying till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so don't worry about
Wow.
it." You know,
So your
but
father was
yeah, because
an airline pilot? Did I know?
yeah, yeah, he was a Marine Corps pilot in the Second World War. And after the war, he joined Allegheny Airlines.
Oh, I remember that.
And shortly thereafter, his main buddy became one of the chief pilots at Eastern Airlines. And then they set up an interview for my dad in New York with, of all people, Eddie Rickenbacker.
Oh, wow.
And so Eddie Rickenbacker hired my dad. When my dad retired, he was fourth in seniority.
Wow.
And he's number one in my heart. And I miss him every day of my life as much as I miss my mom and other family members
You
as
know,
well.
It's so funny. I was just with a friend of mine, and we were driving on Topanga Canyon Boulevard here where I live, and somebody needed to come in, and I waved them in, and she said something, "Oh, that's so nice that you waved them in." And I said, every time I wave somebody in, I flash back on my father. My father would
Yeah.
always let somebody go in front of him in traffic. And I mean, he's gone over well over 30 years, but every time I do it, I'm somehow
Yeah.
channeling my father, you know? And it was just
Yeah.
kind of emblematic of the whole of who he was and hopefully who
But
I try
but
to
but
be.
look who you are. I mean, what was it? 5 months ago, I called you up and said, "I need help. Could you help?" Without question. Yeah, no problem. No big deal. I mean, uh, people have a tendency to think people in show business, and I don't even know if I'm in show business. Um, According to my agent, I may not be, but the truth of the matter is you were there. You are, it's like I've known you long enough now to say we're family. I can call you up on the phone. I can text you. I can do whatever I need to do to get a hold of you. You're there within a day or two, and you know, and I love you so very much, you handsome devil, you. It's the only thing I regret. He's so ladies and gentlemen, on every set, he gets all the women that are on the
Not
set.
anymore. No, no, not anymore.
Oh, come on.
No, no, I don't. I haven't played a love interest in quite some time. It was back in the '80s, uh,
Yeah, but look
and
who you did
early
have a love
'90s,
it.
Night
Yeah,
Court and
yeah.
Dynasty, and those kind of shows where I was kind of the love interest. Not now, not anymore. Now I'm
Did you have a love interest with Maggie Post?
Marky Post. Yeah, I was her.
Marky Post?
Yeah, I was her boyfriend, and then we actually got married on Night Court, and she had my
She
baby.
was
She was
she
spectacular.
was to me so foxy looking, and then unfortunately she's not with us anymore. She spent the
No,
last couple of years on Chicago PD
right?
as what you call its mother.
Right, we missed each
Um,
other. When I did that Chicago PD, we kinda communicated that we weren't there at the same time. I wish we had been because, I truly adored Marky. She was a wonderful, wonderful person,
you
as
know,
beautiful as she was, and as iconic
yeah,
as she was for that period of time on Night Court, and other
yeah,
shows, Fall Guy. She was on a bunch of those shows that
yeah.
period of time, and she
Well,
was
yeah, yeah, a lot of
everybody's
people.
crush, everybody's crush.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I told Harry that when I got to meet Harry at a magician show thing. I said, "My God, how beautiful!" He said, "Gary, if you should have seen her in person,
yeah,
you know, she was."
yeah,
And he said, "Kind and generous and nice and giving and caring." He said everybody on that cast was
yeah.
just, that way.
And so many of them are gone on that particular show.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I don't know if you know this, but they did a reboot a couple of years ago that ran for
Yeah, they
3
tried
seasons,
to. Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
on it. They brought
Were
me
you?
back, and I was on the yes, and it was so strange. Yeah, they brought me back as a different character, because my friend Wendy Malick was a new regular on it, and they brought me in to
Mm-hmm.
play, kind of her love interest, and,
Mm.
I was actually I think I might have been in the last episode. I've killed a lot of shows, but it was so strange. My first day on the set, it was literally
Yeah.
35 years since I had done the original Night Court, and the set,
Wow.
Gary, was exactly the same. They recreated the set down to every tile, everything in the cafeteria, every
Yeah.
door, and the chairs with it was surreal to step onto a set that you had been on 35 years ago, and it was exactly the same. And John Larroquette was on it still, so he was the only
Yeah.
one still around. And
There.
Marshall Warfield is still around, but that's it. Everybody else on that cast is
Yeah.
gone.
I haven't talked to Marcia in so long. I used to see her in Las Vegas. I used to
Yeah,
see her in LA at the Improv when I was
right.
performing at the
Yeah.
Improv.
I think she still
She
does
would
the clubs. I don't know as much, but yeah.
no. But John Larroquette, I met once. I forget where I was, and he was sitting at a table, and I was sitting, and I said, "Mr. Larroquette, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Gary, blah, blah, blah. I'm a young actor here in town." And he said, "Well, good luck to you." And I said, "How did you get to be so smart?" He said, "I had the right genes. I had Jordache."
No,
And he wasn't
okay, but
pretentious. He wasn't
Well, I
any,
gotta tell you something, the Jordache jeans joke would not play very well now because nobody would know what the hell you're talking about except for an
no,
old fart like me, so there you go. At least I
yeah,
got the
yeah.
joke. Yeah.
Here's a question that somebody wanted me to ask you. When you show up on the set as the guest star for the week,
Mhm.
the guest actor, we used to call it five and under during my day, but What's it like to walk in on an ensemble that's already there, that's already got a lot of the stuff worked out, the improv between one another, the looks, the whatever? How is that, say, for the first time that you get on that set and here's this complete ensemble? I asked Will Schreiner that once as a director. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, my career, like I've been doing this for so long, my career is always been very much that. I've been guest stars and then I've been added to shows later on that are already very successful. Going back to LA Law or Dynasty or Night Court, those shows were already so established. And Night Court was a perfect example of that because it had already been on for, I don't know, 8 seasons, 9 seasons. It was, one of the top comedies. And
Yeah.
when you walk on as a guest star, everybody knows the other characters. The audience knows the other characters. The writers know the other characters. So, and they have relationships. And you walk on, and in one episode, you have to somehow establish who you are, who your character is, and that's one of the biggest challenges. And it's different on every show. I'll walk on some shows, and you feel like, oh, they welcome you like any Botchko show, or
Yeah.
even like NCIS when Mark Harmon was on it. You walk on the set and you're called a guest star. That's what that category is called when they're called guest stars. And on certain shows, they truly treat you like you're a guest in their home,
Yeah.
welcoming like that.
Yeah.
And Mark Harmon was like that, and
Yeah.
Marky
Mark
was
is
like
very
that.
nice.
And,
Yeah.
and Marky Post welcomed me on that show when I was first on. Uh, it was the only way I could get through that first week and create a character and create a
Really?
relationship was because she created they welcomed you and they wanted you to do best. And you'll guest star on some other shows where the number one on the call sheet or number two on the call sheet is just so into their own whatever that they don't welcome you
Chevy
that much.
Chase. Chevy
I don't. I
Chase.
I never worked with Chevy Chase, but even on other shows, I've done it where there's some young actor who's 2 years out of college and got lucky on a series, and they
Yeah.
think who they are. But then you work with somebody like James Earl Jones or Mark Hart, and people that have been doing it for years, and they understand and they welcome you, and they want everybody wants you to do the best work that you can. So
By
it,
the
it
way, do
really
you do
depends.
you remember? Yeah.
Go
No, go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry. No.
That was it. I got
Do you
nothing.
remember do you remember you and I both have a Stephen Boschko story how we got to cut a break in Hollywood?
He was being on his shows was very instrumental because one of my first, I had done a couple of guest star parts, but once I did LA, I had I think a 5 episode run on LA Law, and at that point it was the
Yeah.
second season, so the show was the top show on TV. And the
Right.
difference between guest starring on so many different shows, then you guest star on a show that the people in the industry watch, that's the
Right.
difference. You could do a
Well,
million of
you
shows that are
yeah.
but if you're on the one that's everybody in the industry are watching at that time, and I've been lucky along those years, LA Law was like that, of course, The Sopranos was like that. By the time I got on Dynasty, nobody in the business was really watching it, but you know, it was just to be on
Hey,
a show. But,
hey, it paid your bills. It paid your
it
bills.
well, not much, but it got me through. Yeah,
But
yeah,
he taught at Carnegie Mellon,
right?
where I went to school for a while. And when I moved out to LA, I was out there one night at the Improv. I was emceeing, and Bud Friedman called me aside and asked me something. And as he did, Stephen walked in the door with the missus, which was an
Mhm.
act. She was an actress as well. They're both gone now,
Wasn't
unfortunately.
it Barbara Bosun? Was that
Barbara
her name?
Bossum, yeah,
Yeah.
Barbara Bossum, nicest lady in the world. She's gone as well. And Stephen looked at me and he said, "What are you doing in LA?" I said, "I could ask the very same question of you, young fella." I said, "You've obviously been very successful." He said, "Are you doing all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm getting by, but I'm not, I'm auditioning." And he said, "Here's my card. Call my casting person. Here's their name. Call her first thing Monday morning. I'll start using you for 5 and under stuff and start using as an extra just so you can get your bills paid." Because he's the reason I even got into acting at Carnegie Mellon. It was a joke, and I'm not going to get into it again. It's a long story, but he was so cool to me, and people on Hill Street Blues and everything. I I tell you what, I had so much fun on that thing. The only person that I really connected with the first day was Ed Marinaro, because
Mhm.
Marinaro and my brother played against each other in the NFL. And so Marinaro and I got along very well. Plus, he knew me from Fort Lauderdale, where I used to
Mhm.
hang out at Bachelor's 3 and all the other places. when you got The Sopranos, what was that like getting it? Because auditioning today is nothing like what it was back then. Today, it's like, do you have your own camera? Can you do it in your living room? Can you do
Well,
this?
it's
It's so
interesting that,
obscene.
but
It's
Gary,
obscene.
I can't. I hate the self tape world. For the people that don't know, in the old days, you'd get called in, you'd read for the casting director. If they like you, then you'd go to the producer's session, and the director would be there, and you'd do the scene, and they give you an adjustment. You'd make an adjustment in the room, and you hang out with other actors in the waiting room. It was a whole thing which I miss so much. Now everything is self tape, where you get the sides with the scene that you're going to read, and you do it in a camera, and you have somebody read off camera. Interesting though, Gary, the first time
Yeah.
I ever heard the term self-tape was about 23 years ago when they asked me to self-tape for The Sopranos, and I didn't even know what a self-tape was. I had to borrow because
Okay.
I lived in LA. They only cast in New York. I had to borrow a friend's VHS camera, but it was a compact VHS. Then I had to
Right.
shoot my scene and went to Radio Shack to get wires to dub it onto VHS. And then I had to FedEx it by 4:30 to New York. And that's how I got cast on The Sopranos. But so it's funny that you asked about the old days versus the new days. That might have been the last self-tape audition I ever booked, but I actually was booked on The Sopranos from a self-tape, having never met
Yeah.
anybody on the show.
That had to be an interesting cast.
Oh,
Because
Oh, it was like nothing else. My first scene was a sit down with Gandolfini in Miami at the Fontainebleau Hotel. I had
the fountain. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had never met anybody, and I flew from LA to Miami and shot my first scene was a sit down with just me and Jimmy Gandolfini, which was just scary as hell, mind blowing, and obviously rewarding because I was only supposed to do 2 episodes, and then they made me a regular. Um, yeah, no, that cast was like nothing else. You do most of these shows when they say cut, will be, we're gonna light for 20 minutes, everybody runs back to their trailer in their dressing room or whatever. On The Sopranos,
Not
everybody
this
would just
cast.
no, everybody would just sit around, and it was like sitting on a stoop, in New York,
Yeah.
and everybody would just tell stories and, or just hang out and make jokes and,
By the
yeah.
way, the first movie I ever did was a Tony Rome movie. I was an extra, and I had 2 lines, and never guess what hotel it was
I'm
in
gonna guess
Miami
the
Beach.
Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami
Yes.
Beach, Florida.
As a matter of fact, I went with my uncle one Saturday. I've told this story before, and I love this story. He called up my mom. I was mowing the lawn, and he said, "Tell Gary to get ready. We're going to go to lunch and with some old crony friends of mine down on Miami Beach." So I got dressed and everything. He picked me up about 11:30. We went. His driver. We were driving down there, and I didn't ask where we were going. I didn't ask who we were going to be. I just figured it was going to be some of his entertainment buddies. I'm getting free lunch. That's all I know. I'm getting free lunch. That's all that matters to me. We walk into the Fontainebleau Hotel and they go, "Oh, Mr. Boots, yes, your party's waiting for you in the private dining room off to the down to the left." We go into the left. Guess who's sitting there? And they say, "Tubby."
To your uncle? Yeah.
Yeah. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr.
Wow.
Sammy gets up and he goes, "Hey, fat boy, can you still dance?" And they did a little thing because
Ah,
Tubby weighed 385 pounds. I
wow.
became friends with Dean Martin's one son, Richie, and I became real good friends with Dean. That when I moved to LA, I got invited to holiday parties and just,
Wow.
"Hey, Gary, are you eating this Sunday? Are you okay? You know how it is. I mean, I lived in my car for the first couple months I lived in LA, for God's sakes, you know. Right, and not far from where Leno lived in his car, which, by the
Wow.
way, I saved for every night for Jay and his wife Mavis. God bless her. Um, but yeah, but at the Fontainebleau Hotel, I did a couple of movies at the Fontainebleau. It's
Wow.
still there. It
Yeah,
still
yeah,
looks the same.
yeah.
I mean, they refurbished it a little bit since the days when Goldfinger was done there, but it's still an interesting place to go.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it was a thrill to shoot there for sure because of the history.
before we get into the issues of the day, how has AI affected actors and producers and directors now?
Um, I don't know yet. I think the jury's still out. I mean, the union's been fighting it and really trying to
Yeah,
rein it in as much as possible. I mean, some of the things that they were trying to do, where they would get extras and say, "Look, you'll just get this one job, and we'll scan your whole body and everything. Then we could use you for everything for the rest of your life." It's like
yeah,
that's kind of what they wanted to do. The union's been very strong in fighting that. Uh, you pretty much there's riders on contracts now that you have to sign that allows them or doesn't allow them to use you for anything outside of this particular project.
Right.
So there are some protections, but I don't think it'll ever replace actors, at least not in our lifetime, as short as the rest of that is. But who knows where it's going to be 20, 30 years from now if you know if
No,
things
neither
still
one of us will be
progressing.
around, so it
If
won't matter much.
right, well, I just don't know how young actors are going to survive. You know.
Yeah, I talked to a friend of mine who's on The Young and the Restless a couple of weeks ago. He comes on there every once in a while. He used to be a recurring actor. Now he's gotten up there in age, so he's on once in a while. I said, "So, what's the difference between the young actors today and when you first got started on soaps?" He said, "Some of them are very nice." He said, "But I will tell you, when I first auditioned for Y&R and some of the other soaps I was on, I had like 3 or 4 lines on a resume. That was it. And I'm a good looking guy, blah, blah, blah." He said, now they come in with 3 and 4 pages thick of the work that they've done,
Mm.
since college, high school, and everything else. He said, they're coming to LA and they are loaded for bear with sizzle reels and everything else going on, and or sizzle CDs or whatever they have now. So, I mean, the business has really, really changed. But as far as I'm concerned, actors can never be replaced. You cannot emote that from some automaton or some computer generated figure. I mean, uh, uh, Spencer Tracy as an AI. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Are you
Well,
kidding me?
they started doing it years ago. Remember there was a commercial for a vacuum cleaner or a broom or something, and they used a Fred Astaire dance number, and
Yes.
they it was actually at the time when I first saw it, I thought, "Wow, that's kind of pretty cool." But
Yeah.
now, now it just
Yeah.
seems as scary as hell because
Yeah.
thank God they had the original Fred Astaire to do the original dance, but who knows? I mean, I have to anything that somebody sends me, I see online, you wanna double check it. Is this AI? Is this real? Did this really happen? A lot of them are pretty obvious, but you know what? Some aren't, and, it's too easy to fool people into believing things that aren't true or that didn't happen, so we'll
Nothing in
see.
my mind can ever replace people like Spencer Tracy or Jimmy Stewart or Gregory Peck or you or others or
Yeah,
Wendy or anybody.
I'm often included in that group, Spencer Tracy, Gregory
Well,
Peck,
yeah,
Ray
well,
Abruzzo.
that's what I always ask. Listen, when young actors would say to me, who do I learn from? I said, watch every Spencer Tracy you can
Yeah,
watch, every movie you can ever watch of him. He would do more with nothing than any actor I've
yeah.
ever. He could steal a scene by just standing there.
Yeah, yeah, because he was just always just alive and in the moment.
Yeah.
That's what we str and,
Bogart was the same way.
yeah,
Bogey
don't
was the same.
well, I think Spencer Tracy had said, "Don't ever let him catch you acting." That was
Yes.
yeah. So,
Yeah. And and
that's
and and I remember Ernest Borgnine talking about that one. What was it? Afternoon at Bedrock or Black Rock or something, the movie where the train pulled in and it was like a out of the way place, and Lee Marvin was in charge of the no, not Lee Marvin. Well, Lee Marvin was in the movie, but Ernest Borgnine said that Tracy gave him a karate chop. It was part of a fight scene, and he said, "Man, he gave it to me full barrel." He said,
wow.
"I could barely pick myself up." He said he had a lot of strength that people never really realized. There were guys like that. They don't come around much anymore.
Well,
Speaking of which, who we don't come around much anymore, the commander in Cockroach has announced that it's over. It's complete. They have no army. They have no navy. They have no air force anymore. So we're done. I don't think Iran is done with him. And as far as a new Ayatollah, the Israelis said they're going to knock him out. Uh, I don't think there'll ever be peace there. I don't think there'll ever be regime change. The people don't have the what for all to actually do it, and you'd have to count on their army to do the regime change, and that ain't going to happen.
no, you have the Revolutionary Army there, and they're so ensconced that they're the real power. And when Trump told the people in the streets to rise up after they already supposedly killed 30,000 protesters, you're telling these people to rise up against a heavily armed uh, people that aren't afraid of killing their own citizens, and you're telling people to rise up and take over the government. That's just It's just so short-sighted and so unaware of history and the dynamics in this particular country. And I don't think we could be preaching these days about rising up against the government, not worrying about being shot, because unfortunately we've witnessed a little bit of that here. You know,
I mean,
we
I
had
don't
it
think
in
he understand.
we had it in Kent
Go ahead.
State, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and now what we saw happen in Minnesota, the fact that that's just kind of
yeah,
we've moved past that is so shocking to me. Um, and it doesn't bode well for our future until something drastic happens.
yeah, yeah.
So,
By the way, that girl that was in the famous picture at Kent State that was on Time magazine on the cover,
mhm.
where she
Oh,
was screaming, she was
yeah.
from North Miami.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, she was from North Miami. A friend of mine apparently knew her sister or
Mhm.
something back in the day. Um, he doesn't know history. He doesn't bother to know history. He's like a lot of these idiots in Washington. He reads a couple of paragraphs and he thinks, I mean, there was that news item that was on TV, 5 or 6 months ago when they had the Constitution up. So what do you think about the Constitution, Mr. President? It's a beautiful,
It's
loving,
beautiful. It's about love. It's about
yeah.
no, that's the tip of the ice. We could do this. We could do this particular aspect of analyzing things all day long. It's nonstop. The amount that he doesn't know. You know, I almost I he's kind of like a stand-up comic that works a lounge and he just tries to play the room, and whatever's going to work with that particular audience, he'll
Yeah.
say at that moment, and it's just for a reaction. It's like, I just need a reaction. I don't care what it is. I just need a reaction, whether it's a laugh, whether it's and it's so in the moment without any kind of looking back or looking forward.
He
Um,
needs the love. He needs to be stroked every 5 seconds. His cousin Mary Trump
yeah,
wrote the book said that he's had mental illness his whole life. People don't recognize it. But here's one thing for sure that I definitely wanted to bring up because I think you agree with me. He did not start this movement that we call MAGA. He did not start that. He picked up on it some years ago
mhm.
where a middle America was, and the anger and the hatred and the prejudice and the racism that's going on in this country is you could cut it with a knife 100 times over. He just picked up on it and went with it because he's a racist and a bigot. That's obvious. If you lived in New York and you did, he was always a racist and bigot. Look what he did to those young men that were convicted and then later found out to be innocent. He still says they're guilty to
He
this
still
very
says they're
day.
guilty and should have been executed. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
know
mean,
what? It started with the Tea Party. Just like what I said before, he could be like at a lounge at a Ramada Inn and he's playing the room. That's what he did. He played the room, and the room that was set up for him at the time was the Tea Party, right? So, you know, they were and he just jumped on that train. And what was his intro into that train was saying that Obama wasn't a citizen, you know, that he was born in Kenya. And he still, to this day, when he's making a speech, he says, Barack Hussein Obama. You know, he does this, he's milking the divisions and the hatred and people's individual prejudices. You know, he thrives on cultivating that and feeding off that. And it's been to our detriment. But you're right, it didn't start before. You know, the KKK and racism has always been around, but what he did is you know, they used to say, you know, shine the light on it and expose it, and sunshine is the biggest disinfectant, the best
yeah,
disinfectant. But what he did is he lifted up the rock and made it okay. He made it
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Whereas it used to be
yeah. If he
hidden.
can yell and scream, I can yell and scream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's getting out their frustrations. I mean, how many people have I seen who've gone to his rallies and they ask, well, how do you feel about a convicted 34 time? Oh, he didn't get convicted. He
No,
never lies. He never
no.
does. Yeah, no, 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 no. I mean, and then he surrounds himself miscreants, lowlifes, trailer trash people, Heidi, whatever, and then his press secretary, Baghdad Barbie #2, who lies like a rug. Stephen Miller, who is a fascist pig. By the way, his wife comes from Weston, Florida, which is
Mm.
just west of Broward County,
Well,
and
he's from Santa Monica, California. How the hell did that happen?
I don't know.
You know,
Santa Monica's such
a,
a wonderful place.
a Jewish boy from Santa Monica turns out to be like, the biggest anti-Semite, racist mother,
Yeah,
he,
yeah, yeah,
he
absolutely.
he's the
Yeah.
real issue. The other ones, and the other ones are just bad actors. Like Levitt, the way they deliver lines in Bondi when she was in front of that the
Oh,
hearing, the way they deliver their lines is just like if they were on doing a self-tape audition playing that character, we'd go, no, I don't buy it.
no.
They just pull and they just because that's what it looks like to me. It's like they're all performing, and Hegseth, he's always mugging and performing and trying to sell the language with this overemphasis. There's nothing organic and real. As an actor, I study him, I look at them, and it's like, no, this is all performative without any real substance or belief behind it. It's performance.
You know what
And
I
it's
think? You know what
bad.
I think?
It's bad acting.
I think Hegseth is a wet brain.
I'm a, he's a scary guy, and I don't the
He's a
stuff
wet
he
brain.
said.
He's an alcoholic. I think he's still
Yeah,
drinking like crazy, you know?
wouldn't it
Uh,
wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look what did he say the other day? The only something about the only people that are misguided are Iranians that think they're going to live or something like that. I mean, something that
yeah. Oh,
outrageous,
it's
outrageous.
vile. By the way, I can't wait for Bundy. She was subpoenaed to
Yeah,
show up, and if she pulls that, I guarantee you, if she pulls that antic again,
yeah.
now she didn't spend 255 million on a video about herself, dressed up in her different Halloween costumes, but if she pulls that again, I've noticed, and you have too, and I know a lot of people out there that are watching who will see this. Republican senators and congressmen have about had it with her. They had it
Christy
with
Nome, they finally did,
Christine
and
Nome. By the way, could you possibly? I just wonder. You're big on horses. You're a big equestrian and everything. Do you think the name of that horse that she was riding all day was Corey Lewandowski?
no, I think the horse was probably too well endowed to be Corey Lewandowski. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
mean, that guy's been a chump ever since he got involved in politics. I mean,
he
he really,
always
really
has
is.
been. I mean, he had to be pardoned. He had abused a woman on camera, a reporter on camera, physically. It's it's just and she, of course, when she was asked under oath, she never said no about
Yeah.
you know. I mean that
I forget who was in the administration. I think it was Carolyn Levitt. They interviewed her, and she definitely believes in manifest destiny. There's no
mhm.
doubt about it. And for those of you that are not familiar with the term, manifest destiny means a might over right or white over right. It's pushing everybody else out of the way just so you get what you want, and you don't care what happens to the other individual. And a lot of people in the Republican Party nowadays, including um, Baby Vance, what's his name, the
Vance,
Speaker of the
JD.
House. No, no. Well, JD
Oh
Vance has changed his name so many times. I
yeah.
have
Oh
no
yeah,
idea. I thought he was an actor.
Mike Johnson. You're talking about.
Yeah. You know that he's married. He's part of a religious sect that's out of the state where he comes from. I apologize. I don't remember where. But only 4 other states in the union recognize his marriage.
Wow.
Only 4 other states. He's married to some little sect where not having sex with, he doesn't do that, but cuddling up to your daughter, other than just cuddling up, honey, happy birthday, whatever, or whatever, is all cool. And his wife is like Airhead City. She's like, hi.
I've never seen it. I've never seen his wife. I've never seen any.
She looks like Carolyn Levitt.
Oh, they're like, yeah, there is a real cookie cutter thing there
Yeah.
going on there.
Carolyn Levitt's expecting another child, I mean, God forbid.
Yeah.
But yeah, Christine Nome gone is not, man. When they announced that on Kimmel and everybody, the crowd just went nuts. I mean, absolutely went nuts. Even friends of mine who were Republicans went, yes, the bitch has got to
Oh,
go.
she
She's
was so.
nuts.
I mean, how she wasn't fired the very day that when she called them domestic terrorists when we were all looking at the video. No,
Yeah.
and in no way were nothing they could have ever been done could be construed as that. To call them domestic terrorists was so appalling. How she wasn't yanked that day is beyond me. The only reason she was yanked, by the way, had nothing to do with anything she's done before, but was saying that Trump okayed those commercials. That was the
Yes.
straw that broke the camel's back for Trump. Only that he was that he had approved those $240 million for those
Yeah,
vanity
yeah,
commercials that
yeah,
had
yeah.
nothing to do with national security or homeland security. So that's the only reason, not for anything she had done, which was so horrific. That's the problem.
Yeah. By
And
the
the guy
way,
they put in,
yeah,
look, let's
yeah.
face it, this guy they put in, he's the only senator that doesn't even have a bachelor's degree. He's had 2 years of college in construction or something, construction management or something, but he doesn't even have a degree. He's not, and he's never been in charge of it. Now the DHS is like the third biggest organization in the country. You know,
Yeah.
the budget for ICE is bigger than the Marines. So,
Wow.
all right,
By
that
the
was
way,
exhausting. Uh,
one thing that I do know for sure that no matter what, whether it's Iran or whether he goes into Cuba or whatever, I know one thing that's not going away anytime soon. Can you guess what that is, sir? For $100.
Epstein files.
Epstein files. They will never go away because the MAGA base wants to know who are these perverts. And I am beginning to believe, even though they say, well, no, his name is there, but he didn't do anything. Yet, wasn't there some 13-year-old girl, or back when she
Yeah,
was
but
13,
they
said,
won't believe
yeah,
it. They won't believe it. You understand, when it's a cult, it's a cult. They will not believe it. I have people telling me online he was completely exonerated. They said when Clinton was in front of the thing, he completely exonerated Trump. It's like, how did he
oh,
completely exonerate? All he said is he never saw it. So so if a bank was robbed in Studio City and I didn't see it, and I say, no, I didn't see him rob a bank, that means the bank wasn't robbed. That's kind of their logic.
do they have a bank at Studio City now?
I think there might be. I think it's a drive-through ATM, but yeah, um, I haven't been in a bank in a long time.
That's an
Right.
inside joke, folks. For
So
those of us who lived in LA. But here's the weird part about all of this is when they called Hillary Clinton in front of that committee and the Republicans about Pizzagate.
yeah,
Now that was
yeah,
debunked right away.
yeah.
I mean, come on, Hillary said. Well, one woman said to me at Publix here, the supermarket, she said, "Well, she was there while I was going on." I said, "That doesn't mean she was there."
It's insane. And let's face it, there is a first lady who was involved with Epstein, who was down
Yes,
all the
M-
time at
yes,
Mar-a-Lago with him.
Melania,
Yeah.
Melania,
I mean,
the
I
great,
think she was like
the
18,
great
19
star.
years old when she was down there. And, if anybody should be called in and asked, maybe her. There's a million pictures of her with Maxwell and Epstein and Trump.
And
And
naked pictures of her.
yeah, but call in Hillary, who it's quite clear that she never even met Epstein. So,
No, no, and
yeah.
and Bill, yeah, probably. I mean, let's face it. I'm
Look,
not going to
that's
sit
the
here and
difference. That's the difference, Gary. If they had proof that Bill was involved and did something wrong, every Democrat would be fine. Go after him,
yeah,
get him. Where the
yeah,
Republicans with Trump would be like, "Oh no, that can't be true. It's not. It's a lie.
yeah,
But we have this video. It's fake. There's
yeah.
yeah,
By the way, another topic I want to bring up with you because I know in Washington your name is all over the place. Um, the next time you put your name on a building, it's not going to make you any more popular or beloved, but I can't wait for the time when he's not in office and they immediately, whoever the president is, unless it's JD Vance, who's changed his name as often as I
mhm.
drink water, uh, how soon after, if it's a Democratic president, does the names start falling off of the buildings?
When it's the John F. Kennedy Memorial Arts Center. And now
Yes.
memorial, by definition, memorial,
Yeah.
because he's dead, because he was assassinated, and now to put his name on that, if any other president had done that, that would have been enough. But it's like he throws so much shit at the wall, you can't keep up. Yeah, he named the Kennedy
No, you
Center,
can't.
and he wears a baseball hat that he sells on his website when the dead soldiers are coming off. The amount of disrespect for anything that's part of our culture or just decorum. I just it's all so accepted, and any one of them would knock anybody. Look what happened to Howard Dean. He yelled too close to a microphone once at a rally, and he was gone because he yelled too
Yeah,
loud. You know what I mean?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Or John Edwards, right? John Edwards got caught cheating. He was the sweetheart of the Democratic Party. What happened?
yeah.
Gone, gone.
He's out of here. But
But
it's like the more you put your name on buildings doesn't make you any more beloved, doesn't make you any more liked. It actually makes people hate you
you'd
even
hope.
more. And that of course it's closed down now because productions canceled left and right. There was no productions really going on. His board of directors is a joke. Laura Ingraham, are you kidding me? I mean, come on. And Lee Greenwood. Lee Greenwood wasn't popular when he was popular, for God's sakes. I can't think of one Coming to America, that song that he would always play. And I saw Lee Greenwood on stage shaking hands with him. I think somebody forgot to tell Lee, I think you died a few years ago. You need to
Yeah.
lay down.
Well, let's
I
face it.
mean,
He's no Kid Rock.
no. No, no, no. And there was an interesting the halftime show. I want to hear an American sing the halftime show. You did. It
Yeah.
was in Spanish, but he's an American.
Yeah.
And how
And
many of them? Laura Trump herself even kept saying, "Well, he's not an American. He's Puerto Rican." Well,
they
that
they
doesn't
just
make him an
they
American.
just don't get
You
that.
don't.
And they want it in English. And I want to ask, and where are you guys going to be watching it from? Mar-a-Lago. Oh, would you translate that for me? What language is that? Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh God,
Right?
I can't wait. I can't wait to see who plays him in a movie because there's going to be a movie made
Well, they
of
did
him.
one. They did one when he was younger, and I watched some of it. I didn't see the whole thing. It was
Yeah.
about The Apprentice. I think it was called The Apprentice. Oh yeah, because it was with him and Roy Cohen. That whole thing. I
Oh
mean, look,
yeah.
that's it. You got to go back to that period of time. I mean, Roy Cohen was his mentor, and look who Roy Cohen was and what he did and how he lived his life. That's
Do you know who was good friends with Roy Cohen?
no,
Barbara Walters.
was that right?
Yeah.
But, but Barbara
She
Walters
was
took good.
often asked, "Why don't you denounce this guy?" And she said, "Because he got my father out of prison or whatever trouble he was in or something." And so she would never turn her back. I don't know.
All right,
I mean, it is
but
okay. Here's a
she took a good shot at Trump early on when he was on his show about something. I don't remember
yes,
what it was. She called him on something that was,
his bankruptcies
yeah, that's
and
what it
the
was.
banks
Right. Just
and
like
the banks and
Letterman did with his ties, he was talking about being made in America, and he says, "Where's his tie made?" Oh, made in China.
well, so are those hats. So are those hats.
Everything. It's on the hypocrisy. It's always comes down to the hypocrisy.
Yes,
They go
yes,
crazy about Obama wearing a tan suit, but they don't care that this guy wears a hat with merchandise that he sells on his website at the
and he takes it. And he
dignified
takes it.
bringing back of dead soldiers.
And he takes a dump in his pants.
No, he's so disgusting. Anyway, I don't
By
really
the
have an
way,
opinion. I don't really have an opinion. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if that really happened or not. But you were talking about well with Barbara Walters, but yeah, she defended him. But yeah, she went after because she said, according to the bank presidents that I've talked to, they're not going to give you any more. Well, you got to quit listening to the bank presidents. You got to listen
Well,
to me.
right.
He's always been that way. Listen to me, not them.
Yeah,
Listen to
don't
me.
believe your own eyes and ears, believe me. And that's really
Yeah,
what's happening right
absolutely.
now. That's
Yeah,
happening. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Here's the other thing too. He could die tomorrow. I mean, I don't wish that on him. I really don't. But that MAGA thing would go on for at least what, another 7 years or so or something.
I think the damage has been done for a generation. I'll tell you why, Gary. Some of the things they've done, even just if you go to their gutting of USAID,
Yeah,
which gave medicines and food to places around the world. They call that, soft political power. People like Rubio was a champion of USAID, and
he was.
his reason being, if somebody is fed that's starving by a bag that says USAID and they know this food came from America and it's saving their lives, it's very
Yeah,
unlikely that they're going to grow up to be anti-American. But let me tell you something. If you're in Tehran and your sister was killed by a bomb in a school and that bomb says made in USA, what's the rest of your life going to be like? You are going to be dedicated to taking down America for the rest of your life. But yet there have been like 400, 600,000 people that have died due to our cutting of USAID. That's just horrifying. And beyond that, it's creating a void politically as far as goodwill in the world, where now people,
Right.
China is stepping in. They're going to gain that power. They're going to gain the goodwill by helping those people. And we've lost that. And that's gone forever. We're not going to see,
Yeah.
we're not going to see that come back.
And not to mention the people that are unemployed that were laid off due to that South African idiot. I don't,
My God.
I mean, I know he's not an idiot, but he's, to me, he's, you know, how many children does he have? But it's going to take, I mean, how long do you think? First of all, do I think Trump is going to pull some shenanigans on the 26 midterms? Yes. Do I think he's going to try something on the 28, on the 2028? Yes, I do, because he doesn't ever want to be out of power. He doesn't ever want to be out of power. I hope the American people are smart enough to get past that. I think there's enough, and I think there's enough senators and congressmen that'll get smart enough that'll say, wait a minute now, you've served your 2 terms. That's the legal schmiegel on it. I don't care what Steve Bannon
Steve
has to
Bannon
say.
said. I,
What a stack of crap that guy
yeah,
is.
but I have to tell you something. I don't see enough senators stepping up. I watched Lindsey Graham, an interview he did yesterday. It was mind blowing the stuff he was saying. You know,
Yeah.
Cuba's next. We're going to take out every enemy
Hubert.
of America. It's like, really? And then, but
There's
yet
nothing in
Trump,
Cuba.
and Trump lays out the red carpet for Putin and kind of giggles as Putin walks down the red carpet. Here's the thing: he had military men laying out a red carpet for Putin, and now Putin is giving intel to the Iranians on where to attack American service people.
And if
And
you
yet,
were to
and then
tell
he
him that,
berates,
he would
and
have
then he berates Zelensky on camera when Zelensky's now helping us with low price drone defense. Ah, you
that
got me all
that
worked
re,
up, Gary.
that return of those 6 bodies yesterday at Dover,
Hmm.
which, by the way, I have been to a few of those ceremonies when I was in the Air Force in Vietnam. I want to tell you, Ray, it made my blood boil. Number
Hmm.
one, he's saluting a 5-time draft dodging coward, a cockroach to begin with. And J.D. Vance, he may have served in the Marine Corps, but he was a journalist. He did nothing. He did zip. He's an opportunist. That's what he is. That made my blood boil. I mean, I know what my father would have done if I came home like that. He would have said, "You get your ass away from my son's casket. You don't even have a right to stand next to it." So, I mean, it is what it is. With all the
I
stuff
never
that was,
understood. I never understood how any military people stood behind him after what he said about John McCain in 2015.
because
You
they're
know,
cowards. They want their
the fact that
jobs.
he could say John McCain is not a hero, he's only a hero because he was captured. I like
Yeah.
people that weren't captured. I mean, to me, how did Lindsey Graham ever let that get past him when he was like this with John McCain? No matter what you thought about John McCain's politics, he went through some heavy stuff. And for him to belittle that and then still get the support of people in the military and people like Lindsey Graham, I'll just never understand. To me, I always thought, well, that's the
Yeah.
breaking point. He's done. Because
Well,
even the Democrats revered McCain's service, you know?
I met him when he was still in the Navy when I met him at Andrews, and his arm, his arm because
Yeah.
when he got ejected, that wasn't done at the Hanoi Hilton. That was done when he was ejected out of his A4, when he was shot down. And I liked him. I didn't care for his politics 100% either, but listen, anybody that serves our country, anybody that wears the uniform, I don't care what military branch of the service it is, you have my respect. God bless you. Now,
Well,
there are some military people that I served with that are scumbags today that are so redneck and so they're gone. Their minds are shot to all
mhm.
crap. You know, not everybody that serves in the military is an honorable person. I will tell you that. Once they get out, they change. People change. Their brains change. Their lives change. Their opinions change. I mean, it's like it happens. But I served my country. I did what I was supposed to do. I came home. I got spat on in San Francisco when we landed in Oakland. I got I went through it. Here's my question to you, and we've got about 6 minutes left. How long is it going to take our country to rebuild from all of this when it's all said and done?
I think it's a generation. Honestly do. Unfortunately, I think it's way look, just even what he's done to the scientific community when the Doge cuts came to so much cancer
Yeah,
research and all that research. What they're saying, it's not like we could just start up again. They have to go
yeah,
back. You know, if they've cut off for a year, it's going to take 2 years to make up that year. You know what I mean? It's exponentially more than uh, just to catch up. And they were so close to. We've made so much progress on cancer research, and they've been doing so well, and all that was just cut, and the smartest people are gone, and who's going to want to go back
yeah.
into that kind of research? Um,
DOJ, those
yeah.
lawyers from the DOJ,
Uh,
we don't replace those
well,
overnight.
just last week, Patel fired all those FBI people because they were involved in the Mar-a-Lago search, but
Oh, please don't get me.
their specialties were terrorism and Iran. That was all those people are gone that spent a lifetime, their whole careers studying the Iranian um, influence on terrorism around the world. Well,
Cash Patel is such a
wouldn't you
low
like to have
life.
those people sitting in their
Yes,
offices doing the work they should be
sure,
doing?
sure, sure.
But no, we
But
got people like him and Hegseth and RFK Jr. and Christy Nome and you know
I just want to say this. We're going to do with some new vaccines, and even his family disowned him. I hate Cash Patel. By the way, I know stories about Cash Patel because he was an attorney in Miami Beach. He was hated by everything and everyone that moved. I don't know what nationality is, Indian or Pakistani. He's one or the other. Patel usually tells me he's like Indian. I think
mhm.
the name Patel is associated. But what a low life. I mean, what a real low life.
No.
Here's
But you know
my
what it
final
comes down to
thought on
this
the
though,
subject. What?
Gary, a fish rots
Yes, babe.
from the head down. So with
Yes,
all the other
it
people
does.
we're naming, a fish rots from the head down, and the head might be
Yeah.
Trump or the head might be Stephen Miller, but it's one of those two.
Well, maybe both if we're very lucky. Um, Final thing.
Yes.
We got about 3 minutes. Who do you believe anymore? I mean, who do you really believe anymore? I mean, the press is trying to do their job, but
But
who do you
again,
believe anymore?
but now with all the different takeovers, the press is being run by like three people. You know, it's all being, and you see the way he talks to reporters. I mean,
Ugh,
quiet piggy. I mean, if anybody else ever said that, quiet piggy, or if somebody else, it's decent, even Steve Ducey from Fox, who idolizes Trump, asked a question about Russian involvement with Iran, and he shut him down.
yeah.
How could you ask that question at a time like this? He just shuts them down. So we're never going to hear the truth from him. When I post things, I choose to use his exact words of things that he said.
You do, and I notice it. I notice it. Yes,
It's
I
like,
notice it.
it's not my spin. He said this. Lindsey Graham said this. Hegseth said this. Noam said this. You don't need spin. You don't need to say MSNBC told me that, or CNN told me that, or CBS told me that. These are their words live. It's like people telling me that January 6th wasn't what we all know it was.
Yeah,
I saw it.
exactly.
I don't need the
Yeah,
press
so
to
did I.
spin that way.
Yeah,
I saw the guy with his head in the door and the guy pulling on him and they trying to smash
yeah.
his door, being beat with American flags poles. I saw it. I don't need somebody to spin that to tell me what it was. All right.
Anyway, we are out of time. We
Really?
have done an hour. Yeah,
All right.
we have done an hour.
Okay.
Stay right where you are, Ray Abruzzo. I just want to thank all of you out there so much for joining us here on Main Street. Ray Abruzzo has been my guest for this last hour. We talked about a little show business. We talked about politics a little bit. Next week, Dave Lamont will be joining us. We'll be talking sports, particularly with the NCAA championship coming up and Major League Baseball season going. So until we meet again, would you please take care of yourselves, take care of everybody you love, and just give them a hug and tell them how much you love them. See you around.